Namibia's political landscape in 2025 has been described as transformative, marked by a new generation of leaders, bold reforms and historic female representation at the highest levels of government, from Netumbo Nandi-Ndaitwah's trailblazing presidency to Kadiva Hamutumwa's appointment as the governor of the Ohangwena region. Women are shaping governance, development and national identity in powerful new ways. Yet, this evolution is unfolding in a country celebrated by its ethnic diversity and social harmony, a remarkable balance that continues to define Namibia's democracy. So today on The Conversation, and I'm joined by Kadiva Hamutumwa, governor of Ohangwena Region, Namibia. And I must let you know that she is in Nigeria. Governor Hamutumwa, how are you doing? Hope you're enjoying the atmosphere in our country.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I must first and foremost say thank you for receiving me so well in Nigeria, the federal state of Nigeria, Federal Republic of Nigeria. I arrived yesterday. The weather is good. It's raining. Okay. It's very humid. Namibia is a very dry country, but humidity is so much here, and the hospitality is really exceptional. So I'm very thankful to be here and the warm welcome that Nigerians have given me.
Oh, of course, very good to hear. So let's start this conversation by first congratulating you on your new appointment. It's nice to see that a woman is leading in this particular sensitive position and front. So how would you describe the significance of your transition from the corporate world to regional governance at a time when women are increasingly at the center of Namibia's political leadership?
Well, thank you. So I must first and foremost start by saying that Namibia, in terms of good governance indices, is actually ranked one of the best. We have seen women leadership coming to the top, and I think this was not something that just happened overnight. It was very deliberate. It was an intentional strategy that the country took a couple of years ago, about 2 decades ago, to really make sure that there is gender equality and making sure that there are women within decision-making positions and bringing women, whether young or old, into positions of power and around the boardroom. Now, I come accompanied by a crop of women that have got a lot of experience in governance and politics around the globe, as well as in the country, who have broken barriers, who have really led with integrity. And we're talking about our 5th president, the current president, Her Excellency Dr. Netumbo Nandi-Ndaitwah. We're speaking of our vice president, Madam Lucia Betboy, the speaker of the National Assembly, Madam Sarah Buhongerwa-Amavila, and so many other women that are actually leading the frontier. And as a young woman in politics, entering it from the corporate world, I can say that the support as well as the mentorship and the examples are there for us to be able to lead and thrive in what we're actually doing. Now, politics in its own is an art. It's a game where you need to be able to work with people to make sure that you achieve development strategies. And as a young woman transitioning from corporate coming through to pure politics, I have had to ensure that I work with the people and that I put the people first, because it is about the people. Now, I must qualify with the fact that politics is not new to me. I have grown up in the political space. I've been active in the Sopo Party Youth League, within youth politics. I've served within the Sopo Party Youth League. I've served at the regional level. I've served at the district level, as well as at the branch level within the structures. I've also served the SWAPO Party, which is the current ruling party and the leader of government within the Republic of Namibia, within the Women Council, where I have been charting development of women, especially in the rural areas, being able to build capacity in areas around planning, execution, monitoring, and evaluation of programs that the Women Council would be leading. All right. Additionally, I'm currently the president of the Namibia Exiled Kids Association. It is a semi-political association that represents those that were born and raised outside Namibia in exile during the time of the war, during the liberation struggle. And being a child of the liberation struggle myself, I have had to grow up in politics. So it's not fully new to me. It is a space that I have operated in, and a space that I have come to actually learn and know for the past 3 decades.
Okay, fantastic. Of course, I must understand how inspiring this must be to you, most especially with the plethora of women in leadership in Namibia and your trajectory through the course of governance. But then you have been very active in addressing some situations in some regions like water scarcity in Ohangwena and Oshikoto regions. Now, with this new appointment, what structural policy changes are you implementing to ensure sustainable water and access to, most especially sustainable water and access for local communities?
All right. Well, thank you very much. So I must start by saying that in Namibia, water belongs to the state. So the license to actually drill and abstract water all over the country belongs to the Ministry of Agriculture. And by extension, we have a water utility that I was actually then working for, NamWater, who is then the implementing agency. Now, when we look at structural changes, or perhaps let me get into the Ohangwena region a bit. This is one of the regions that has water as a competitive advantage and a resource, because we have what we call the Ohangwena aquifer. And this aquifer is said to be able to provide water for the country for the next 400 years. So when you speak about development and you speak about water, you speak about the Ohangwena aquifer, it becomes an interconnected route. Now, with the aquifer being the source of water within the region, first and foremost, the strategies would be to ensure that we drill boreholes that are able to then supply water to communities, and then we are able to link pipelines within your rural areas, and that they are interconnected. And then together with that, to also then develop treatment plants within the region. Now, the water that the Ohangwena region actually makes use of is coming from then Oshana region, and it comes from Puvelai within Angola. And the idea now is to reform and ensure that we come up with viable projects that are being coordinated by NamWater and the Ministry of Agriculture. So the strategy would be, and the structural adjustment would be, to make sure that we connect the rural areas to the bulk water supply, of which in Namibia it has always sort of been separate, where rural water supply is managed by the ministry and bulk water supply is then managed by the water utility. But because Ohangwena is predominantly rural, I have been advocating for ensuring that bulk water supply actually cuts across to all villages, all 12 constituencies within the region, and to make sure that people actually have access to drinking water. Now, if we look at the region furthermore, you will find that access to water is available. However, the aquifer is highly saline, so you've got a lot of salinity within the water. And what we've been working on is to make sure that we are able to deploy desalinated technology in the rural areas, which is a bit contrary to what people normally think, because the thought would be that desalination should be in the ocean only. However, we are looking at then deploying them into the rural area, so that once you've drilled a borehole, you are able to connect that desalinated modular plant, and you are then able to desalinate the water.
All right,
immediately
Kadiva,
at that point in time and supply.
Yeah, we see the innovative ideas and models that you're bringing into these communities to solve their problems. But then let's kill it a bit and look at those that have inspired you. Let's start even with the President Netumbo Nandi-Ndaitwah's new cabinet that has been described as revolutionary, not only for cutting the number of ministries, but also for giving women the majority of portfolios. What message does this send about the direction of Namibia's governance?
So the direction of Namibian's governance is one of its business unusual. When the president came on, she was very apologetic and remains to be very unapologetic around making sure that it's business unusual. Business unusual means actually redesigning business processes in terms of public service delivery for the country, making sure that we are able to actually deliver services, no matter how far it is to the population, making sure that as politicians as well as civil servants, we are actually able to then make sure that we transform the public sector to be able to deliver those services. I think in terms of effective governance, she's been speaking about integrity, zero tolerance to corruption actually comes through as well, and strengthening those institutions that would enable us to actually ensure that good governance is actually brought through. I think at the heart of it, she has the youth in place, and that is why the government has actually established the National Youth Development Fund as a vehicle and a strategy to be able to create employment or self-employment for the young people within the region or within the country. Audaciously, if we look at the 8th administration of the Republic of Namibia, there are two critical sectors that have actually come up that have never been important. And the first sector is the creative arts industry, and the second sector is sport. So being able to harness the talent and potential that lies within the young people and actually tapping into that youth dividend has become a non-negotiable for the country. It has become primary. It is no longer secondary, because the president and the administration understands that it is the young people that will actually be transforming the Republic of Namibia.
Okay, so let's now look at other women who have stepped into the terrain of governance in the country. We heard of Lucia with Boy's appointment as vice president, and Sarah Kongongelwa Amadila's election as Speaker of the National Assembly. Events set to be marking a new chapter for women in leadership. What do you think this means for the next generation of Namibian women in politics?
Well, what I think is that it's an open door. The doors have been opened. Seeing such a strong leader, such a vibrant leader, one that has got a lot of experience. She has served the National Planning Commission. She has served in the Ministry of Finance. She has been our Prime Minister of the Republic, and now she's a Speaker of Parliament. It actually means that you are able to come through from the executive and move over to the judiciary quite easily once you have developed that experience for the country. As you know, Namibia is developed on the rule of law. We have the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary. And we see that women are then able to actually serve in the three arms of government. And that in itself is motivational for us as young women, upcoming women within the political space. And it shows that we don't only need to be executors on the ground, but we can also be crafters of the very legislation and the transformation that we actually need to make from a legislative perspective in order to serve the communities much better.
And we also see a Namibia that has managed to maintain peace and cohesion among its diverse ethnic groups, Ovambo, Herero, Damara, Caprivian, amongst others. Now, what lessons can other African nations learn from Namibia's approach to inclusive governance?
Well, I think what other nations can learn from Namibia is that every voice matters. So we have freedom of press in Namibia. Nobody's voice is actually suppressed. And even though the SWAPO party has led as the ruling government for the past 35 years, it continues to listen to the people, it continues to listen to the citizens, and we have what we call participatory democracy in nation building. So for example, we can see all the time from the first president, His Excellency Dr. Sam Shafishuna Nujoma, our founding father, may his soul rest in peace, the government has made sure that it actually has conversations with the opposition. The opposition is respected because the opposition also has a voice to speak within the Republic of Namibia. And together, we have managed to be able to actually lead. I think in terms of cultural diversity, although we've got regions, we've got ethnic groups, we no longer have regions that are said to only be predominantly for, let's say, a certain tribe. We have allowed cross-pollination to come through. We have allowed a one Namibia, one nation policy to come through, where regardless of who you are and where you come from, you can get employment anyway in the country. Of course, just like any other country, you will find instances where you do have people who may be regionalistic, but I think from a leadership perspective, that is something that is not supported at all, because at the end of the day, we believe that it takes every single Namibian to be able to develop and take the country forward.
And even as we see cohesion and unity in Namibia, we also notice that there's been a bit of stability, within the fabrics of the nation's democracy or democratic institutions. So I'd like to find out how you think political leaders can actually drive such unity and stability to ensure that Namibia continues to thrive moving forward.
Thank you. So one of the ways that political leaders can actually drive unity and stability is first and foremost in conversation. I think we must realize that a political leader is there to inspire, is there to cast a vision for people to be able to follow. So every single time a politician actually enters a stage, they need to be conscious about what are they saying, why are they saying it, and to who are they saying it. So the language that we need to give as politicians needs to change. It needs to be a language of unity. It needs to be a language of compassion. It needs to be a language of diversity. And it needs to be a language of working together. Gone are the days where, as politicians, you would campaign for power, for example, in a manner that actually disregards another tribe or disregards somebody else. So it's very important that language and what we say in terms of conversation goes forward. Secondly, being able to ensure that all the policies that are actually developed for the country actually benefit every single person, regardless of where you come from, your socio-economic status, as well as your background. So policies need to be inclusive. Policies need to be able to benefit all people, whether black or white, whether a child, whether rich or poor. That's very important. And then I think thirdly, it's really looking at inclusivity in the heart of it. So making sure, for example, the SWAPO party, which is the party that I come from, and the ruling party, we say that the SWAPO party is a people's party. And we say that the SWAPO party is the people and the people are the SWAPO party. So it has to be mass-based, mass movement-based. And you genuinely need to be able to ensure that in all structures of the party or any institution, you are able to find the different demographics that represent the national identity of that particular country. So we are very intentional as a country of making sure that you have men and women. We are very intentional of making sure that there's diversity within the different portfolios and the different structures that we actually have within the country.
All right, so we've spoken about public institutions and, of course, the women. Let's look at the youth population in Namibia. From your vantage position as governor, what policies or maybe partnerships are most critical to addressing youth unemployment and probably, empowering rural communities?
Thank you very much. So if we look at policies that are beneficial for addressing youth unemployment and also impacting rural communities, I think first and foremost, you would look at your economic diplomacy as well as trade policy. That's very important. Doing business outside your country particularly is quite important, because if you look at Namibia, for example, a country with 3 million people as a population, you may say that we don't have enough buying power. So creating the connection between Namibia and other countries and deliberately then getting the young people, young entrepreneurs, young business people within the space of economic diplomacy, where they are able to go out into other countries to be able to market themselves and actually establish businesses is very important. So B2B from a diplomatic perspective is very important. And really then developing policies that will enable the young people to actually go out and then do business comfortably. So this speaks to your visa requirements. This speaks to your ability to enter into another country. I mean, an example is Nigeria, where I am now. We should be able to have a conducive environment based on our history of being able to take young Namibians to come into Nigeria, let them open up, get into the market, and then do business. And then I think the regulatory framework around requirements for doing business from a financial perspective. As you are aware, a lot of young people, wherever you go, it's not only a Namibian phenomena, would not have capital to be able to start a business immediately. So that level of collateral that is actually needed by businesses for young people to flourish might not be available. So creating policies, once again, where you then waiver the collateral requirements, as well as then any performance guarantee requirements that might be too high from a financial perspective for young people to actually get. And with this, I would like to say that Namibia has actually established the National Youth Development Development Fund. It was actually established in March 2025. And the primary objective of the National Youth Development Fund is to allow young people with brilliant ideas to get funding. And I must qualify affordable funding from this fund. So the government has capitalized it. It has a total of about 300 million Namibian dollars. And young people then submit business plans. And we have funding agencies like the Development Bank of Namibia, the Agricultural Bank of Namibia, the Environmental Investment Fund, that then assesses these different business plans and then provides that funding through the government. Now, what is interesting about this fund is that it is only at a 2% interest rate payment. If you look at your commercial banks, they are offering prime rate is around 11%. So there's a huge reduction in terms of what needs to be paid. Additionally, it is also collateral free. So issues around security and collateral have actually been waived. That is what is going to help young people to actually enter into business and be able to actually then flourish in the business. Additionally, policies and programs around mentoring and coaching. I believe that young businesses need to be incubated. So being able to incubate a business, being able to support it with the right resources, with the right environment, as well as with the right mentoring and coaching would enable young people to actually become empowered.
All right, finally, Kadiva, in 30 seconds, as Namibia continues to now redefine leadership, what legacy do you hope to leave in Ohangwena region and in the broader narrative of women's political empowerment in Africa?
Thank you very much. Legacy is a very expensive currency. But if I look at the Ohangwena region and I look at what it is that I can bring to the table, I would like to leave a legacy of, first and foremost, having people to transform their minds to be able to believe in themselves to be able to do anything. So a mind shift change for me, because the next chapter of Africa, the next generation of Africa will need a different mindset to be able to leapfrog and to take Africa forward. I would love to leave a legacy where Africa meets Namibia and Namibia actually meets Africa, where we are not enclosed within the Ohangwena region only, but we are able to tap into the resources, whether it's capacity, whether it's skills, but we are able to tap into the resources from other African countries. I believe in the Pan-African agenda. It's one that's very important to me. And I believe that collaboration is very important between African countries. Secondly, I would love to leave a legacy, if anything, of Ohangwena's water shortage to actually be solved, where there's access to water to be able to agriculturalize, to be able to entrepreneur, and to be able to do commerce for the country and for the region. And then making sure that everything we do is by us and for us.
Of course, we see how loaded you are. We see your dreams. We see your plans for Namibia. We see how you're being, innovative with these ideas you're bringing on board as the governor of Ohangwena region in Namibia. And we can only wish you all the best. Thank you so much, Kadiva Hamutumwa, governor of Ohangwena region, Namibia. It was nice having you grace our show and share this information with us.